Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me.
I'm Bishop William Byrne. The annual Catholic Appeal is our chance to help those in need, the homeless, the hungry, and our partnering organization. Please join me in answering Jesus' call to love your neighbor by donating at diospringfield.org.
That you do unto me.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel, we will look back at the life of Springfield Bishop Timothy McDonnell, the 8th Bishop of Springfield, who passed away earlier this week.
Some big news at St. Stanislaus Kostka School here in Adams. I'm Caroline McGrath. I'll have the story coming up.
Think Hope, a powerful message for the world. I'm Kathy Harrington with the story of a teenager who continues to change lives long after her death.
It's all just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Good evening and welcome to Reel to Reel. It was sad news that Bishop William Byrne shared with the diocese this past Thursday, the passing of Bishop Timothy McDonnell, the 8th Bishop of Springfield. Bishop McDonnell passed away late Wednesday evening, March 4th, after a long and courageous battle with cancer. It was 22 years ago on March 9th that Pope John Paul II named him as Bishop of Springfield. And during his 10-year tenure, he took on many of the most difficult challenges facing the Catholic Church, doing so with determination, but also with compassion and understanding. Steve Kiltonic now takes a look back at this gifted leader.
On March 5th, during a press conference held at St. Michael's Cathedral, Springfield Bishop William Byrne announced the sad news of the passing of the diocese's 8th bishop, Timothy A. McDonnell, on Wednesday, March 4th. He was 88 years old.
Bishop Tim was an example of great courage and faith throughout the last months of his life. I'm grateful for his wise counsel. He was not just a predecessor, he was a dear friend to me and also to my predecessor, Archbishop Rosansky. He was a good bishop, an example of putting one's life into God's merciful hands. He will be most certainly missed by all who knew him and were served by him.
Born in 1937, Bishop McDonnell grew up in New York City, where he received much of his early education. He attended St. Joseph's Seminary in Yonkers and was ordained a priest in 1963 by Francis Cardinal Spellman for the Archdiocese of New York. Later, he became Auxiliary Bishop of New York before being installed as the Bishop of Springfield on April 1, 2004. His episcopacy began during a difficult time on the heels of his predecessor, Bishop Thomas Dupre's abrupt departure. Sexual abuse allegations would surface and spread more widely across the Springfield diocese. Bishop McDonnell appointed Father Gary Daly as his first vocations director in 2004.
He was a true New Yorker, and so New Yorkers, I think, many times are very direct in how they deal with things, and he was. But I believe that he really did it with compassion. He had a heart for the people, and he had a heart for the victims of the sexual abuse.
Bishop McDonnell's transparency throughout the entire abuse crisis led to 2-group settlements, which ensured that victims received financial restitution, continued support, and an apology for the abuse they suffered. Bishop McDonnell also had to deal with an aging diocesan population with fewer priests to serve those parishes. He created the Office of Pastoral Planning, which eventually led to the difficult decision to shutter many of the ethnic churches in the diocese.
It was very painful for a lot of people, and he tried to meet those people where they were at and to help them to understand that things don't last forever. Did it work with everyone? It didn't, but for the most part, I think we've been healed in many ways with regard to those closings. But he had a tough job, and he met it straight on and very decisive.
Father Chris Malatesta was Dean of the Berkshire County when Bishop McDonnell arrived.
I think God puts the right person at the right time, that he had a steady hand in all of that, and none of it was easy work. But he was able to, because of his, temperament and personality, he was able, in a compassionate and holy way, to be able to deal with some very tough things that the diocese was going through. And he remains steady for all of that.
Bishop McDonald also helped the diocese recover from the devastating EF5 tornado on June 1, 2011. Much of Cathedral High was destroyed during the tornado, and in the ensuing years, Bishop McDonald helped navigate a merger with Holyoke Catholic and was involved in the early stages of planning for a new high school, which became known as Pope Francis Preparatory School. Under Bishop McDonald's leadership, the Latino outreach in the diocese expanded greatly, and he celebrated the opening of 2 new churches, Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament in Westfield and St. Francis of Assisi in Belchertown. Father Daly said Bishop McDonald was very compassionate with people in general, and particularly with priests, many of whom he ordained during his 10-year tenure.
He was truly a spiritual father, and I really did see it with the young men who were thinking about priesthood. He cared about them. He had Christmas dinner with them. And whenever he saw them, he knew their name, and he talked with them. And I thought that the men were really appreciative of his interest in them as they were discerning a vocation to priesthood.
Bishop McDonald was also noted for his quick Irish wit and his love of puns.
And you just didn't know when it was going to happen, and you would just roll your eyes with it. And some of them were really good and some of them were really bad, but it was those dad kind of jokes.
Father Daly recalled Bishop McDonald's humor was evident from the beginning. He was at his first press conference as bishop.
I remember a reporter asking him, "So Bishop, is your allegiance going to change from the Yankees to the Red Sox?" And he goes, he says, "I love the Boston Red Sox because they've been the best farm team for the New York Yankees." I'll never forget that.
Bishop McDonald also was a history fanatic and would often incorporate historical facts into many of his speeches and homilies.
Before he went to a parish, he always looked at the history of that place, and he had a tremendous memory up until his death. He just knew facts, but history was his thing. I don't think there was a subject he didn't know something about.
After retiring in 2014, Bishop McDonald took up residency at St. Joseph's Rectory for many years. More recently, he moved to Mary's Meadow as he struggled with cancer, but through it all, he never lost his humor or positive outlook on life. In his final public communication, a January 6th letter to the priests, deacons, religious, and laity of the diocese, he clearly was preparing for what lay ahead. I find myself thinking more and more of the Pauline passage which I have quoted at funerals over 62 years of priesthood. Eye has not seen, ear has not heard, it has not entered the human imagination what God has prepared for those who love him. Right now, I'm looking forward to finding out. Keep me in your prayers. You are in mine. With gratitude for all you have been over the years.
Physically, he grew weaker and weaker, but his mind never dimmed at all. I saw him probably once or twice a week, and we would have long visits where we would laugh and hear stories of his days of being a priest in New York, but also he was one that I could turn to and trust for his understanding and counsel in the Diocese of Springfield, and especially as its shepherd.
Right to the end, he really, and enjoyed those interactions that he had with all of us. But he was, I would say, not only a good friend to the diocese, but I say in a personal way, a good friend to me.
He was a great leader and did a lot of hard work here in the Diocese of Springfield, and many people appreciate it, and maybe some people don't. But whatever he did as a true shepherd.
Bishop Byrne announced that the funeral arrangements will begin on Thursday, March 12th, with a viewing at St. Joseph's Church in Pittsfield from 4 to 6 p.m., followed by Mass at 6. The bishop will lie in state at St. Michael's Cathedral on Friday, March 13th, from 9 to 10:30 a.m., followed by funeral Mass at 11. Bishop McDonald will be laid to rest in the Augustine Crypt under St. Michael's Cathedral, with Bishops O'Reilly, Bevan, and O'Leary. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.
And Bishop McDonald's funeral will be live streamed starting at 11 a.m. this coming Friday, March 13th. Look for a link at diospringfield.org. Now to an amazing story of faith. Parents often share stories about their amazing children, but for Susan and Brian Middleton, sharing the life story of their daughter Maria is a mission. Consecrated to Mary at her baptism and serving as an ambassador of hope, Maria knew her mission in life was to know, love, and serve God. When diagnosed at 16 with terminal brain cancer, she offered her suffering for the redemption of souls. Kathy Harrington has the story now of a Pennsylvania teenager who is on a path to sainthood.
I think what happens is when we share Maria's life with people, she is able to touch them in the areas where they need hope. And that's what we see spreading in such a beautiful way. The world's in need of hope.
At her baptism, when the priest at St. Agnes Church consecrated Maria Middleton to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and presented the infant back to the Lord as a gift of God's goodness, graciousness, and love, he prayed Maria might develop a love of Jesus in the Word and sacraments. With it came a pledge to live for the salvation of sinners. As a toddler, she joined her mother at Eucharistic adoration, developing a relationship with God and the Blessed Mother. A first-grade journal entry was that her dream was that everybody would follow Jesus, and she could make it come true by praying and spreading the good news. Since her passing in October 2020 from an inoperable brain tumor, her parents, Brian and Susan Middleton, are spreading the news. Their youngest daughter was a messenger of hope and a saver of souls.
Think hope. These were the last 2 words that Maria was physically able to write in her journal as her tumor took away all of her temporal abilities. It wasn't a slogan. It wasn't a pithy statement. It wasn't mere optimism. It was a manifestation of Maria's way of life. It was in her heart, mind, and soul.
Opening the Lenten Speaker Series at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Church in Westfield, the Middletons shared how their daughter grew in faith, the fruits of the Spirit always present in her. Excelling in school, she was the class president in high school, set records in basketball and track. Temporal talents, but nothing that defined who Maria was.
In fact, she wrote in her journal that these talents are gifts from God, and it's my job to give them back to Him by serving others.
First, there were headaches, and then physical therapy for muscle strain. But when Maria, an Irish dancer from a young age, lost her balance in class, Susan took the 16-year-old sophomore to be checked out at the hospital. Doctors soon discovering an inoperable malignant brainstem tumor and gave Maria 9 to 12 months to live.
2 weeks after she was diagnosed, we asked her, "How you doing now?" And she said, "Mom and Dad, regardless of the circumstances of my life, my mission and purpose remain the same. And it's to know, love, and serve God in this world, and ultimately to be happy with Him in heaven."
The thing that made it easier for me, that kind of distracted me, is the amount of love and prayers that I have received, because I could just feel it. Like, I could almost feel like I was being lifted up by all the prayers, and that helped deal with everything.
The power of prayer was so palpable that Maria herself wrote a poem 1 month after her diagnosis on the power of prayer.
Prayers for a miracle poured in from all around the world, from family, friends, classmates, schools, parishes, and religious orders in America, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Among them, a photograph of schoolchildren in Uganda praying for Maria. The priest from Uganda invited Maria to do a mission trip. She was on a flight to Africa on what the doctors told them would be Maria's expiration date.
It was an unbelievable experience because we got to see our daughter become the person that God created her to be. And she had such an impact on the folks over there.
Back home, Maria's health was declining. By June, she was hospitalized.
Maria couldn't hear, she couldn't move, she couldn't swallow. Her mind fully there as her body is slowly stripped of every physical attribute.
Maria was sleeping when she was visited by Father James Blunt, a charismatic priest with a healing ministry and an exorcist who could see on the spiritual realm. He told the Middletons that Maria was surrounded by angels and saints.
He closed his eyes and said, "Maria's a victim soul. Maria is offering her sufferings for the souls of others in need."
Blunt explained that the saints, including Marie Goretti, Jacinto and Francisco Marto, St. Therese Lisieux, Blessed Carlo Acutis, St. Joan of Arc, and the Blessed Mother were all there.
They're all working together to snatch these teenage souls from Satan's grip. Make sure you tell her she's doing a good job.
Susan says while the world was praying for a miracle,
And I have to take a step back and say, any miracle of healing on this earth is a temporary miracle. Maria was given the greater miracle, and that's the promise of eternity. The joy and the peace that waits for each one of us if we unite our sufferings to Jesus on the cross, and if we walk intimately with the Blessed Mother.
Maria Middleton died on October 8, 2020. In the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, a postulator has been appointed to examine Maria's life as the first step in the cause for sainthood. I'm Kathy Harrington for Real to Real.
To learn more about Maria Middleton, visit our news and information website, iobserve.org. And still to come on Real to Real, Dan Dumas shares news from around the diocese. And Carolee McGrath will pay a visit to St. Stanislaus Kostka School in Adams and see why they are celebrating. It's all ahead on Real to Real.
Whatsoever you do to the least of my people, that you do unto me.
I'm Bishop William Byrne. The annual Catholic Appeal is our chance to help those in need, the homeless, the hungry, and our partnering organization. Please join me in answering Jesus' call to love your neighbor by donating at diospringfield.org.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio,
just finished this
see one, two, and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
Our family is made up of every race. We are young and old, rich and poor, men and women, sinners and saints. Our family has spanned the centuries and the globe. With God's grace, we started hospitals to care for the sick. We establish orphanages and help the poor. We are the largest charitable organization on the planet, bringing relief and comfort to those in need. We educate more children than any other scholarly or religious institution. We developed the scientific method and laws of evidence. We founded the college system. We defend the dignity of all human life and uphold marriage and family. Cities were named after our revered saints who navigated a sacred path before us. Guided by the Holy Spirit, we compiled the Bible. We are transformed by sacred scripture and sacred tradition, which have consistently guided us for 2,000 years. We are the Catholic Church. With over 1 billion in our family, sharing in the sacraments and fullness of the Christian faith. For centuries, we have prayed for you and our world, every hour of every day, whenever we celebrate the Mass. Jesus himself laid the foundation for our faith when he said to Peter, the first pope, "You are rock, and upon this rock I will build my church." For over 2,000 years, we've had an unbroken line of shepherds, guiding the Catholic Church with love and truth in a confused and hurting world. And in this world filled with chaos, hardship, and pain, it's comforting to know that some things remain consistent, true, and strong, our Catholic faith, and the eternal love that God has for all creation. If you've been away from the Catholic Church, we invite you to take another look. Visit CatholicsComeHome.org today. Ours is one family, united in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. We are Catholic. Welcome home.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Real to Real News Briefs. St. Mary High School in Pittsfield has announced that starting next year, an express bus will run from Lee to the Westfield campus. Carolee McGrath reports.
If you live in the Lee area, your child now has an opportunity to attend a Catholic high school. St. Mary's High School in Westfield is hitting the road next year with a new van making stops in Lee to pick up students from the Berkshires.
We've been trying for years now to bridge the gap for Catholic education for kids from the Lee area and from the Berkshires who go to St. Mary's in Lee or any of the other schools that just don't have a high school option for Catholic education since St. Joseph's closed in Pittsfield. I think that was right around 2017, and we now have a route that's going to run to Lee for morning pickup and for afternoon drop-off.
3 generous donors made it possible for St. Mary's High School to purchase the new van, which will have the St. Mary's logo on it.
Since we put this up on social media, we have people reaching out to us from Otis and Blandford wanting to know if we can go to that area, so we have already added another stop.
St. Mary's High School has also seen the largest number of applicants in 10 years for the incoming freshman class. In Westfield, I'm Carolee McGrath.
A great new opportunity for Berkshire students. In other news, the College of Our Lady of the Elms announced last week that renowned Catholic journalist and author of the first book exploring the papacy of Pope Leo, Christopher White, will speak at the Chicopee campus on Thursday, March 19th. He will talk about the conclave that elected the first American pope. The event is free, but advance registration will be required. There is a link at iobserve.org, and this talk will be a joint endeavor combining the Reverend Hugh Crean, Distinguished Lecture, and the Sister Mary Dooley Lecture. Now to the Winter Sports Championships. Pope Francis has 2 teams still contending for a state title. Steve Kiltonic has our story.
The Pope Francis boys hockey team advanced to the Final Four in the Division I state semifinals. Pope Francis, ranked number 7, beat number 15 Marshfield Wednesday night, March 4th at Loring Arena in Framingham. The Cardinals scored early in the first period with a goal by senior captain Matt Reagan. In the second period, they opened it up, scoring 4 more goals and securing their spot in the next round. This is the 3rd time since 2023 that the Cardinals are back in the Final Four. In 2023, they went on to win the Division I state championship. We'll have more on the Pope boys basketball team's progress next week. Good luck to the Cardinals.
You can read more on these and other stories at iobserve.org, where you can find articles from our Catholic communications staff, as well as on-demand episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
You are watching Real to Real, your window on the world around you. Here again is your Real to Real host, Sharon Roulier.
We close tonight in the beautiful town of Adams. There's some exciting news is happening at St. Stanislaus Kostka School. The school just finished the long process of accreditation, and they also announced a new scholarship to help families with the cost of Catholic education. Carolee McGrath traveled up to see firsthand what is taking place in this resilient Catholic school.
When a verb ends with a consonant.
In Mrs. Barroso's 4th grade class at St. Stanislaus Kostka School in Adams, it was all business, as the students were working through a grammar lesson. St. Stanislaus Kostka School, founded in 1912, is a K-8 Catholic school providing rigorous academics rooted in the Catholic faith. And just recently, they received outside verification that the school is well positioned to help students succeed now and in future years.
Last week, we finally announced that we have received our initial accreditation from NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and it was a very long process. It was 2 years with a lot of input from the school staff. The teachers helped write the report, a lot of input from teachers, the school board, and our whole community. And so this initial accreditation is a huge step for our school, and we're very excited about it.
Chris Bursaw is the principal of St. Stanislaus Kostka School.
Going forward, it's more recognition for the actual work that we have here at the school. All of our finances, our materials, the teachers, curriculum, that everything has been verified and checked by a third-party organization. And so when they go on to high schools or colleges, this will look very good on their resumes that they attended such a school.
Maria Wagner is the superintendent of schools for the Diocese of Springfield.
It's important because we want all our schools to be accredited. It signifies that the school has a great plan moving forward for how they're going to educate the child, the whole child. And it isn't just teachers and it isn't just the principal doing the paperwork and the analysis. It's a self-assessment by parents and teachers and the principal, and even students are asked survey questions. So it's a combined effort to make sure that the school is in the right direction.
Maggie is in Mrs. Barroso's 4th grade class. What's your favorite subject in school?
Probably reading.
What do you like to read?
I love to read fantasies and probably biographies. I like to read about the history.
The accreditation is another validation that St. Stanislaus Kostka School can compete with the public school system while still being able to freely talk about Jesus in the classroom. Students can also go to Mass, and even though not all students are Catholic, it's a special component.
I don't really know about my faith that much, but I love to pray and I want to know more about God.
St. Stanislaus Kostka School has a quote of their namesake posted around the school and on school sweatshirts. I was born for greater things. What do you think St. Stanislaus Kostka meant when he said, I was born for greater things? Do you think he meant you were born to win $1 million?
Probably not.
Do you think he meant you were going to become really, really rich and famous and maybe a little mean?
No.
What do you think he meant?
I think he meant he was born to help God and help people believe in him.
I think you're right. Do you think you were born for greater things?
Yeah.
Enrollment numbers at St. Stanislaus Kostka School have been slowly ticking up over the last few years with about 114 students. And in addition to the accreditation, the school announced a new scholarship to help students afford Catholic education.
This morning I had the privilege to announce our new Queen Connolly Memorial Scholarship Fund. So it's a fund that we started in order to help families in financial need who normally wouldn't be able to afford a Catholic education. And it started with a very generous grant from the Flatley Foundation just outside of Boston. Quinn was a student here about 25 years ago, and he had a tragic accident. We have several memorials to him around the school. There's a picture outside of my office. There's a pear tree out by the convent that was put there in his honor too. So the school board really wanted to name the fund after someone, something to really, show our sense of community and who we are. And so they thought that he would just be a great person to name it after.
Members of the Connolly family were at the Monday morning Mass for the announcement, which was special for the entire community. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
Congratulations to the faculty and students at St. Stanislaus Kostka. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Be sure to follow the latest news of the Catholic Church, both here in Western Massachusetts and around the world, on our news and information website, iobserve.org. There you'll find articles that are prepared by our Catholic Communications reporting team, as well as our partners at our Sunday Visitor. That's iobserve.org. And we are also on Facebook. You can follow us there at Catholic Communications. And just a reminder that Catholic Communications will be live streaming the funeral of Bishop McDonnell on Friday, March 13th at 11 a.m., as well as the Mass of Christ, the High Priest, live from Pittsfield on Thursday at 6 p.m. And a friendly reminder to our WWLP TV 22 viewers of the Chalice of Salvation, remember to change your clocks tonight. Spring ahead 1 hour. I don't know about you, but I will be welcoming more sunlight later on in the day for sure. Join me at this same time next week for another edition of Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.